Welcome back to The Health Hunt, a human, humble, and humorous exploration of how to level up your health and get better sleep. If you've been following this podcast from the beginning, or if you're a newer listener and you caught our recent episodes with Dr. Michael Bruce, the sleep doctor, you already know that we take sleep very seriously around here. As Dr. Bruce likes to say, if you change your sleep, you can change your life. And that's exactly why we keep coming back to this topic.
So today we're doing something a little different. Instead of interviewing a physician or a researcher, we're going to look at my own sleep studies from the past. Over the last 7 years, I've taken 3 of them. There was a 2019 at-home sleep study. This is where we resurfaced my sleep apnea. An in-lab overnight study at UCLA in 2021. And my most recent sleep study, which happened in the last couple of weeks, that is very telling. What surprised me was the numbers changed dramatically. The question is, can sleep apnea actually improve? And if it can, what numbers should you be paying attention to? The Health Hunt podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only. We're not medical professionals, and nothing shared should be considered medical advice. Always consult your healthcare provider before making changes to your health. Let's dive in. All right, so let's set the stage here. I mentioned back in 2019, I was diagnosed with a moderate obstructive sleep apnea. At the time, my weight was 205 pounds. I think it was probably a little heavier, but let's go 205. My BMI was 27. I think it was a little bit higher than that, but let's just use that number as well. And my AHI was 25 events per hour. We'll talk about AHI in a second. Oxygen saturation dropped as low as 76% during sleep. I'll talk about that as well. So what this means roughly is every 2 or 3 minutes, my breathing was disrupted. That's obviously not good. The report classified it as moderate obstructive sleep apnea. Like many people, I assumed sleep apnea was something that only gets worse over time. But later testing, as I'll get into, might tell a different story than that.
Very interesting.
Yeah, threw out a lot there. So let's kind of define some things. Let's talk about what matters. Let's look at number 1, AHI. And this stands for, and God, if I pronounce this the right way on the first time, Apnea-Hypopnea Index.
Nice.
I'll say it again. Apnea-Hypopnea Index. Sandy, can you say that? I just called you Candy. So I can't even say your name. Candy, can you say that? AHI.
Now I'm all nervous. You know, it's like when someone's watching you read. Apnea-Hypopnea Index.
There you go. So she now can say AHI. I clearly can't say her name. I call her Candy. But now we're good. So AHI is the number of breathing disruptions you experience per hour of sleep. So generally under 5 is normal. So you never want to stop breathing at all in sleep, but 5 is normal. 5 to 15 is mild. 15 to 30 is considered moderate, and over 30 is severe. I know that people who have well over 30 AHIs and, are really, it's really important that they have the CPAP machine.
So just let me clarify, because people might be wondering, when you say breathing disruptions, those are the times where you basically stop breathing momentarily before you restart breathing? Okay. You
stop breathing, and your body obviously is your body. And in defense, it actually either wakes you up, or you wake up, or you have an event. And so, but that's a lot of work on your heart. And so there's a lot of issues in your brain. So there's a lot of stuff there that I'm not going to go into medically, but those are issues. And so AHI, though, is could be the most important thing, but it's not the only thing that matters. You have something called oxygen saturation, which I mentioned just above. This tells us how low your oxygen levels drop during sleep. Repeated oxygen level drops can place stress on the cardiovascular system. So again, it's not just about sleep and brain. There's a heart component here. Your heart is working overtime while you're sleeping, not good. So for many people, oxygen saturation may actually be more important than the AHI because it reflects like physiological stress and the breathing events that are being created. So oxygen saturation, AHI, and then now as a subset of AHI, we have what we call positional AHI. This is one of the most important findings, or interesting findings in my case. Positional AHI tells us where sleep apnea is worse. Is it worse on your back, on your right side, on your left side? Are you a stomach sleeper? It actually tells you how many events you have in those positions. For some people, that really matters. It's everything. And so important to note that metric or definition as well.
Because I guess that seems like something you could maybe correct. I mean, I don't know how you train yourself to sleep in a certain direction, but it seems like that's a variable that at least can be changed.
Yeah. I mean, I can sleep on my back for very short periods of time. I'm a side sleeper. I will never have a full night's sleep on my back. I know people that religiously do that. That is like impossibility to me.
It's misery for me.
Yeah. The only time I can ever, like, if I was like not unwell and sleeping on my back because there was like some type of like whatever, I would get no sleep. I get like 2 hours for the whole night.
Yeah. I'm just going to give you a short aside story. So I've talked about, I was in a really bad car accident when I was, 20 years old or it was 1997, something like that. Anyway, so I had pins in my knees. They had to literally just put my whole leg back together. And the pins were so long, I could feel them on the side. So the only way that I could sleep was on my back. And so until they took these pins out for 9 months, I slept on my back. And that's why I say misery. Because if I would roll over, I would get shooting pains from these pins being pushed on. So anyway, not a back sleeper. Never was, never want to be.
Ooh, that's a good one.
9 months.
Thanks for sharing that. 9 months, yeah. 9 hours for me is tough. 9 months, woo. So you are a warrior. So number 4 is sleep architecture. This is the last thing, and we've talked about these things on our podcast. REM sleep, deep sleep, sleep efficiency, arousals. Arousals mean awakenings. I'm not going to talk about these as much. I just wanted to mention them. So I told you just about the AHI and some of the numbers surrounding that. And so let's talk about my 2019 sleep study that I originally told me I had sleep apnea, the moderate case. My AHI there, I think then that AHI, the number was 25.3, but that was a general. I'm not sure if that's an average AHI. I think it's an average over all positions. 25.3 is, going back to the chart I mentioned, is well into moderate, the higher end of moderate. That's not a joke. And so here we go. I was presented with this medical condition and supine AHI. So supine being on my back, we just talked about that. The positional AHI on my back, 31.9. So into full-blown severe obstructive sleep apnea. Non-supine, so non-back was 19.9. So think about that. At 19.9 on my side, which is moderate, it goes up 11 to 12 AHIs per hour being on my back. So that's not trivial.
Yeah, so the back is really skewing it. But does that mean, though, that you were on your back a lot? Because it sounds like it must have been the case. It couldn't be that you were just on your back for 5 minutes.
I'm not sure how.
It's interesting.
I don't know if I can't imagine that I'm on my back much at night, but
yeah,
it could be like something like where I think this would probably be the scenario is where in 2000, maybe I'm watching TV, shouldn't watch TV before you go to sleep. And I'm doing something and I'm on my back and I fall asleep while that's happening. And so 2 to 3 hours later, I wake up and I'm like, I'm on my back. Whoa, this is not comfortable. I'm going to my side. What really happens is I've had all these AHIs and, to the point that it's like, 31.9 per hour, much higher than the side. And so there's no way, even in 2019, I started out on my back wanting to fall asleep. That just wouldn't be the case.
Yeah. Okay. Got it.
So then the oxygen nadir, again, oxygen nadir, NADIR, medical term, let me define it. Lowest blood oxygen level reached during a specific period of your sleep was 76% at night. This is not good. You want to obviously be in the 90s. So that's not a positive thing to hear. So the takeaway here is that my airway was collapsing throughout the night and that when I sleep, as I mentioned, I should be sleeping on my side, not my back.
And I just quickly want to, 2019. Okay, so I want to take you back to that period because I know we're talking about stress on the body and all of these things, but obviously if you're having moments where your body is freaking out because it needs to get you to start breathing again, you're not getting a quality night's sleep, right? So are you feeling exhausted? Is that one of the reasons that you went to get this test? Were you just feeling like you were in bed for X number of hours and you thought you were asleep, but you just never felt rested?
Yeah, it could be one of two things. It could have been, and as I'm trying to remember, it could be the fact that like I'm having all these awakenings. I'm not sleeping. I'm having fragmented sleep. Or it could have been, or both, that I am sleeping 6 or 7 or 8 hours, but I'm exhausted during the day, which is also a very common thing for people who have sleep issues. So either way, we get to the same kind of end of the road that I wasn't sleeping well. And so I believe at this time, I'm not sure. I didn't have the CPAP yet. And so let's go into 2021. This is the golden ticket, the UCLA lab sleep study. This is the, golden standard. Sorry, not golden ticket, a little Willy Wonka action.
We love
Sorry
the golden ticket.
We do. Thank you, Charlie. So this was 2 years later. I went in for that overnight study, and here they, put all of these electrodes on your head. I mean, you feel like if you think that like we made Matrix jokes before, you're actually in the Matrix with this sleep study. Like you must have electrodes. They're on the side of your head, top of your head. And so it's measuring brain waves, sleep stages, oxygen levels, body positions, respiratory effort. You have things on your fingers that are doing that for the respiratory part of it. So it's a full blown, how is your brain waves going? How are you sleeping? What are your sleep stages? How are you breathing? And so this was in 2021, and this was interesting. This showed an AHI of 14.
Huh.
An average. So 14, moving from 25 in 2019 to 14 average in 2021. I don't know what I weighed here. I'm not sure. I'd have to look back. But so here's the craziest number. Probably, there's a lot of crazy numbers in there, but here's like the craziest one. During this test, my supine AHI, so again, sleeping on my back, was 46.5. That is not good.
No, it's not good.
That's extreme. So, but to compare, my side sleeping AHI was 6.7. Think about the differential there. So sleeping on my side makes all of the difference. And so again, I'm not sure where we start on the supine, how I get that back sleep, how that number's being derived, but I am apparently probably in the beginning of my sleep, sleeping on my back.
I guess it's just like the forensic accountant in me, all I could think about is that it's skewing the number. Because you look at 6.7 and you're like, problem solved. Maybe the few times you roll over on your back, it's throwing this whole number off.
Right. And then my oxygen here was 87%. So that's like, now we're getting like, we have mild sleep apnea. This is like, these are mild symptoms, milder symptoms. So my AHI dropped significantly. We really now have a story about position of sleep mattering. And I'll say it a number of times. How you sleep matters. And so I think at this period of time, I started trying an oral appliance. And I think that further improved my AHI and my numbers. That also, again, I talk about this in prior podcasts, moved my jaw and locked it. But it wasn't the CPAP. No one wants a CPAP. So I still wasn't at the CPAP level. But eventually, in 2021, probably 2022, maybe somewhere around there, I did get the CPAP and APAP. And I have used that intermittently. Like there are weeks where I'll use it in a row, and there are days or weeks where I won't use it at all. It's a lot. I've talked about it before. I would look back at the various sleep episodes in our podcast. Committing to CPAP, I think the drop-off rate is like 40 or 50%. People just can't tolerate. They can't tolerate the hose, like pushing on their face as they're trying
it's a lot. We've talked about this. The sleep study sounds horrible. Also, how would they put electrodes on my head with all my hair? Is that, I guess they have a way. Never mind.
They have a way, yeah.
It's doable. But also the CPAP, like I can barely get comfortable under normal conditions. So I just can't imagine all sorts of things on my face. That just seems like not a conducive way to a good night's sleep. But I guess if you're not breathing, for people that have severe maybe that outweighs the not breathing. So
right. And so this is the most interesting tell. We're going to fast forward many years to today. A couple of weeks ago, I took a sleep study. Now, the at-home sleep study tests have changed a little bit. There's less invasiveness, meaning there's not like all these attachments on you at home. This one, which is called a Sansa, I had not heard of it, but you just put a monitor on your left side of your chest at a certain position towards your neck. And it's connected to an app, and that's all there is. The technology behind that, I'm not sure, but that's a whole other deep dive. But I'm told it's fairly accurate in regards to trending sleep study results. And so I want to preface my last results from 2026, most recent results, by saying that I believe I was 205 to 207, something around 210 in 2019. I could have been something less in 2021. Today, as I'm talking to you, I'm 190. And so from 190 to 210, or just being generous, that's 20 pounds. And let's go through my results from 2 weeks ago. So let's talk about general AHI. So the last one was 14, and the one prior to that was 25.3 baseline in 2019. My general AHI was 3.6. 3.6 is mild sleep apnea, if not no sleep apnea. And so my right side, it tested a couple sides here, was 3.1. My left side was 2.0. My supine was higher, supine being back, but it was 9.2. That is a massive, massive reduction. So the only through line through these numbers is weight. That is the direct correlation to these results. There's nothing else I can use to explain why this improved. And we do all know that GLP-1s, and the only reason I'm bringing this up is because you can get GLP-1s, the Zepbound, the tirzepatide, those type of whatever derivatives they are, you can get them for sleep apnea because weight is an issue. And if you lose weight, your apneas and all these AHI, directional AHI, oxygen saturation, all these things improve. And so that is, this could be another podcast actually, Sandy, about just weight, obesity, everything that extends from that. I think someone even told me recently, a smart person, I'm not sure if it was a doctor, they're in the medical field. They said something about, I actually believed it, even though I probably don't. They're like, only thing worse than cigarette smoking is being obese. And that probably could be true. I mean, cigarette smoking is really bad, don't get me wrong, and who even smokes cigarettes anymore for that matter?
I know.
But
in casinos, they do.
Yeah, casinos, or like, I feel like if someone's smoking a cigarette, you're about to hear like Warrant Cherry Pie or like Poison or some type of 80s rock band.
And
or something.
In Europe too, still a lot, but yeah.
Oh, Europe for sure. But I think a lot of things come down to weight. And so I'm going to go with the factor, the only through line is weight.
I have a question, and I'm going to ask what I think is a dumb question. I don't like to say dumb questions out loud. It demeans my entire view of myself. But is there any world in which a CPAP is training you to not stop breathing?
Wow, that is dumb. Holy cow. Let's just, I think we should stop the podcast. I mean,
let's quit. The podcast is canceled.
Yeah. Cancel this podcast. Then not a dumb question at all.
Oh, thank God. Okay.
And I think I've heard from a sleep doctor before, I'm stretching my memory here, that if you are using a CPAP religiously and you go off it for a few nights, it's kind of trained yourself to nose breathe and the anatomy to expect a certain thing. So that you can actually continue to sleep well without severe symptoms for a period of time. So there is like muscle memory or something learned.
Well, maybe we've talked about neural pathways and we talked about chronic pain and things like that. And so there's something where your body and your brain are learning to do it in a more beneficial way, to breathe.
Right. But I don't know if it's the case, but I will say this. I don't think it's ever the case. And again, we could ask Michael this, but I can find out, is that a CPAP actually cures your symptoms and then you can go off of it. What I think can cure or make your symptoms better is weight loss. Legitimate, unless you have an anatomical bone structure issue, which I may even have. When you lose weight in your neck, all of your body, it just works.
Well, didn't you talk about your thick neck as a kid and having to buy special shirts? That was memorable, so I have not.
Yeah, there's I've definitely taken an inch or so off my neck.
But I'm assuming that there's also a component of overall health, because if you're healthier, if you weigh a healthier weight, for example, you probably, even in the day, when you're awake, have better breathing, you have better heart rate. Your heart is not working as hard because some of that's being measured at night. And so in general, your heart is working hard, not just at night or not just when you stop breathing. So I would think that all of that puts less stress on your body, which also could help some of this. But again, not a doctor, not medical advice.
It all makes sense. And I think you're on the right track. And so, again, you talk about weight loss, positional awareness. We all know that. Find the position, get it, if you're going to get a home sleep study, like you'll learn which positions, if you have apneas or have sleep apnea, that are the bad ones. And so that alone is a great thing to do. They're not that expensive. I think can range from, with doctor visit, like between like $120 to $250.
Yeah, I think
that's not nothing, but
no, I mean, but also it's way better than having to go to a lab somewhere and be hooked up to electrodes. So I think I think the sleep doctor they have one, I think it's like $200. And I thought I saw a picture of it. It's something that goes on your finger, like one of those blood pressure.
There's different ways to do it now that are just, there's not like, they used to be like they used to be like all over your body, your finger or your chest, somewhere else. And like you said, they used to be kind of wiry. They've gotten much better they've improved those for sure. They're cost effective, generally speaking. And it's a good thing just to do.
Yeah.
If you're not sleeping well. Of course, if you're not sleeping well. So
wait, so my question is, where are you now those are much more favorable numbers. So are you using your CPAP on a regular basis right now? Or do you feel like you don't necessarily need it if you are cognizant about sleeping on your side?
I am using my CPAP intermittently. Again, I used it last night and I woke up after 4 hours, took it off, and then slept the rest of the night. And so it's not I don't hate my CPAP. It's not a love-hate relationship. It's just, it's becoming less optimal for me. And these numbers are encouraging. So I'm actually going to be moving back to a mouth guard. Mm-hmm. It's a different mouth guard. There's new technology with mouth guards, and there's a kind of a gold standard. It's called a ProSomnus. I'm going to be getting that one. And I've heard wonderful things about it. And it's only really for people with mild to lower moderate sleep apnea. I mean, I guess anyone could use it, but the most effective part of it, I believe, is my understanding, is in those distinctions. And so, and this way I don't need the machine, hopefully, and I can travel with it, and it just makes life just a lot easier, and it actually will be as effective. We'll see.
Yeah.
I'm just going through the insurance battles of getting it approved, and then I go for the mouth impression, and then they'll make the thing for me, and I'll probably have another podcast episode about that too. So
yeah, sure, that's interesting.
Yeah, we'll get someone from ProSomnus on. I mean, we'll also get a doctor that is a sleep dentist on too, who specifically does these type of things, who can talk about this world, because this is an important world. If you're scared of CPAP, you don't necessarily need one. You can maybe start here.
I like this. This is good stuff.
Yeah, and so, again, I'll mention some lifestyle changes, better fitness, metabolic health, reduce inflammation. Again, this is all weight loss stuff. But let's kind of button this up into what is a bigger lesson. The point of this episode is not that everyone can cure sleep apnea. I don't think mine's cured. I'm optimistic that we're in a really good spot. Many people still need a CPAP. I get it. Some people can do oral appliances. That's a great way too. And I guess to some extent there are surgeries for sleep apnea. I don't know anyone that's ever had those. But yeah, I can't even speak to that. But what data suggests is that sleep apnea is not fixed in stone. All of these data, AHI, oxygen levels, directional AHI, these can all be changed. And so if you're diagnosed with sleep apnea, don't assume the number today is a number you're going to have forever, or it's going to continue to get worse. Track it, retest it, work on these variables you can control. Because from what I've seen for myself, and even from some others, meaningful improvement is possible.
So this is really interesting, because I don't know that I've heard anyone actually talk about improvements in sleep apnea. So I'm really glad that you were able to share this. And I have to say, having you as a co-host is wonderful for lots of reasons, but also because you track everything. And so this is really meaningful data, to have your numbers from your first sleep study in 2019 and to be able to track it all the way through, and to have tracked the changes to see what's different in your lifestyle, in your body composition. It's just really good information. And I think this is great for our listeners to be able to hear as well.
I have a funny anecdote. You said track things. Well, I think I get tracking things from being an attorney, or a former attorney, or a recovering attorney. And I'll tell you why. It's because when I went to law school, I had to law school was deep into the Socratic method, meaning you go to class and you brief things out, and then the teacher calls on you in front of 100 or 200 kids. You stand up and you brief out a case with the teacher, and he cross-examines you. And so I got so used to briefing out and prepping out these things in detail, so detailed and so organized and so good at this, even though it's like super stressful and cross-examined by a teacher in front of hundreds of kids, not knowing when you're going to be called. Like, you don't know like what day you're going to. It's like you just picks out of a hat. And so I got called a bunch. And so I think the way they always say, like, your legal degree always walks with you in life. It's not just like you have to be a lawyer. It's just how you think about things. And so I've used that preparation and that level of detail in health to my benefit. And so that's where you get over time kind of these. I mean, I have folders of organized stuff that just, I can look back to.
I have no doubt. So before we wrap up, here's the biggest takeaway from today's episode. Sleep apnea isn't always fixed in stone. That doesn't mean everyone can reverse it. And many people will still need CPAP therapy, oral appliances, or other treatment. But Dan's experience shows us that factors like weight, sleep position, and overall health can make a meaningful difference over time. If you've been diagnosed with sleep apnea, don't assume the number that you get today is the number you'll have forever. Stay curious, track your progress like Dan does, and work with your healthcare team to understand your options. And we'd really love to hear from you. Have you improved your sleep apnea or found something that's helped you sleep? Send us a message at info@thehealthhunt.com or find us on social media at thehealthhunt_podcast. And if you found this episode helpful, please share it with a friend and don't forget to follow, rate, and review the podcast. Thanks for listening to The Health Hunt, and we'll see you next time.